Farmers have been protesting all over Europe. These are growing, and now they're actually coming here to Canada. Breaking story from Drea Humphrey on Twitter. Developing story of Cowichan Valley farmers protesting in downtown Duncan right now. They have had enough with the attacks on farmland. Now, as I said, this has been happening all over Europe. This is a big thing, and it has largely to do with policies that have been coming down from draconian governments that are largely tied to lobby groups such as the World Economic Forum and the like. But a lot of these protests are coming because of policies in their governments that are restricting farmers in one way or another. It depends on where you're looking, but there's different restrictions, and they all seemingly have the same plot in mind: bankrupt farmers and take over their land. Now we're seeing this breaking out in England as well. Nigel Farage posting this on Twitter. It started. Farmers are protesting in Dover tonight. Here's more footage of that from Active Patriot. Farmers arrive in Dover tonight and take their tractors to block the port. Of course, Dover is has a major ferry port in town there in England. Now, well, as this develops, I'll be reporting more on this. In France, they're stepping up the game and they're doing more stuff, and they're in the talks of going to a place called Rungus and block that place. It's apparently the largest fresh produce market in the world. Now, this has been happening, like I said, all over the place, and it is a big scene, and it is not being reported by mainstream media. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why that is. I mean, you can draw your own conclusions. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, of course. Now, looking at the situation in the Netherlands, this was this actually created political upheaval, and they actually brought in a new entirely political party, and this is some of the sentiment coming from that.
What do you make of the nitrogen emission reducing policies? What do you think the real story is?
Well, I think it's leftish rubbish. The real aim here is to get rid of our farmers for some leftish nitrogen kind of agenda, and to make room for even more non-Western immigrants, asylum seekers, and build houses and centers for them, and something that is totally different than the current elite is telling the people.
So you'll see this in all of the reports, thanks to Rebel News for reporting on this, as well as a few other independent journalists that have still been covering this apart from the media. Now, in Canada, the excuse is a little different. Depends on the place. They have been using the nitrogen excuse. Carbon taxes is another. And water restrictions is another. This is Simon Hergott. You should go over, check out his channel. He's got a 3-piece documentary series on this. Here's a little clip from this. They're essentially restricting their water, saying that the farmers are drying up the rivers, when these farmers spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to access aquifers underground, and yet they're still pulling the same stuff on them with no real explanation why.
We asked for a meeting. They wouldn't show up. There's no science in there. Like, we asked for the science behind their decisions to shut us down. They didn't even show up at the meeting to give us that science. I don't believe that there is any. I think that people in the lower Shuswap, namely probably the native bands, are saying, hey, the Chinook population's going down. We got to do something about it, and this is the government's way of doing something about it. You know, they're always on it about protecting the food chain. We got to have food security. We got to protect the food chain. This is the beginning of the food chain, right here where you're standing. We produce the feed that dairy cow eats, that produces that jug of milk that you go on a Friday afternoon to pick up after work. The cheese that you put on your hamburger, on your barbecue on Saturday afternoon. We produce the feed for the cattle that produce that hamburger.
I'll leave a link in the description down below. Go check out that 3-part series because it is fantastic. And it shows how the government is trying to shut them down. Now, Rebel News reporting on this. Tractors, Canadian flags Stacks of hay and no farmers, no food signs were just some of the sights seen during a grassroots protest that took place on Wednesday in downtown Duncan, BC. Of course, the article here with more to it in that, I'll leave a link in the description again down below for that. Now, in the mainstream media, you'll hear stuff about what's going on with our food supply, all of these other things, and CBC Watcher pointing out, rightfully so, the Canadian Press piece tries to seriously discuss food prices at each level, farmer, processor, and retailer, without a single mention of carbon tax added at any level. So these are, it's a multifaceted issue when it comes to farmers in Canada. They're attacking at every front, whether it's the water rights, their ability to use water, the ability to use nitrogen fertilizers and how much they use, and also carbon taxes to tell them they're going to get shut down. Now, here they are on the House of Parliament floor talking about exactly this.
You know, I wish we could spread answers like that on farmers' fields so that at least they could benefit from some of that fertilizer. This NDP Liberal government is costing Canadians through high food prices, once again showing how out of touch they are. Not only did the radical Environment Minister admit to pressuring senators to gut Bill C-234, but farmers are getting another carbon tax on April 1st. After 8 years, this Prime Minister has proven that he is most certainly not worth the cost.
Bill 234, incidentally, was the bill to give the farmers a break on these tax increases that have been put forward. Now, these are the view of Cowichan Valley farmers as they're protesting in downtown Duncan. Of course, many people are showing this on Twitter, showing their support for it. Canadian farmers have started to protest in Duncan. More footage of this. So as this develops, I'll definitely be bringing more and more to you. A lot of people are talking about this, and it's going very well. It looks, it's got me excited to see farmers actually finally standing up and joining this fight in solidarity as well with all the European farmers that are going through the same stuff. And well, it's only going to get worse here unless until we have a sea change, either politically or otherwise. It's gonna get bad because well, you can see how interesting it's gotten over in Europe. So anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about this story about farmers getting out and protesting against our government actions, against them and against anyone who basically eats food. If you like food, you should probably support the farmers. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. We'll be live just in a few minutes here, so come join. I'll be having special guest Twos. He's from the 222-minute podcast. Come join on that, and we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.